The new record selector widget is finally here. This widget allows you to pick a record from a list and then use the context of that record in other widgets. Hi, my name is Artem. I'm a product manager at SmartSuite, and in this video I will tell you everything you need to know about this very useful widget. So let's go. Essentially, record selector widget represents a list of records that it pulls from a certain source, and it lets us select a single record from that list and then transfers the information about that record to any widget that it has a connection with. Let's have a look at this example here. On the left, select account is the record selector widget. And we can see that it actually brings the list of accounts, and I can pick only one of them. And when I do so, the widget on the right, which is a record details widget being connected to the selector, actually reflects the change and displays details of the account that I pick on the left. If I scroll down, we can explore another use case where linked opportunities is a grid view that displays quotations that are linked to a selected account. And you can see when I change the account, the list of opportunities changes as well. This is a different type of connection that we're going to explore in a second. Same happens with the metrics. When I change the account, those metrics now reflect data for this specific account. And finally, down below, we have linked contacts, where essentially the same thing happens. This grid view shows me only those contacts that are linked to the accounts that I have selected in the record selector. Okay, now as we have this basic understanding of the record selector purpose, let's see what we have in the settings of that widget. Here we are in the settings of the record selector widget. The first thing to pay attention to is the source section, as this section defines where our list will be coming from. And there are two options to choose from. We could either choose a table directly, or we can choose another record selector to serve us as a source, but we will keep it for later, as this is a little bit more advanced. So for now, this particular widget just pulls data from the accounts table. Simple as that. And of course, just like in any other source control, we can apply filter and sort. So in this case, I'm saying that I don't want to see accounts that belong to these types. Now, in the selection dropdown control, we can define optionally 3 fields that we want to be listed together with the title field. For example, here I have the title, but down below I also have a counter for open opportunities and open pipeline, which kind of helps me understand better how things are going in a particular account when I am deciding if I want to see the details of that account or not. This option is also very useful. You can enable the Create New Record button so that users were able to create new accounts right from the selector without the need to go to the actual table. It's kind of a time saver. And finally, the Connected Widgets section is a read-only section, and it will display those widgets that will be using the current selector as a source, and we will see how we can add those widgets a little bit later. Now, moving on to the Style tab. In the Appearance section, we have 2 options to choose from. The selector itself can be rendered as a list, like I have it here, or for a little bit more minimalistic look, you can render it as a dropdown. But I personally always prefer to have it as a list. And then, similar to record details, we have an option to choose a background color just to spice things up. And now it's time for us to see how other widgets can be connected to the record selector. And remember, there are 3 main use cases. First is to connect record details to a selector. Second would be to connect a metric, a chart, or a grid view to a record selector. And then finally, we can see how when one record selector can be connected to the other record selector to build a kind of chain or cascade dependencies of several selectors. So let's start with the record details. When we go to the settings, we'll navigate to the source control, and here it's super straightforward because record details cannot have anything else as a source but the record selector. That's why when you expand the dropdown, it will only list widgets that have a type record selector. So in this case, we are willing to get the details of an account. So we will connect it to the select account, and we will get this message here that the data is actually coming from the sales CRM accounts table. And there we have it. We're done. Now our record details widget is connected to a corresponding record selector. Now let's see how we can work with grids and metrics. Let's say we want to have a grid view that will be showing us opportunities linked to a selected account that comes from a record selector. How do we do that? Well, obviously, we will go to the source, and first thing we need to do is pick a selector, because this is where the data should be coming from, right? And we have the select account selector. Okay. But now we see that we get an extra field that we have to fill in. It's a linked record. Now, the reason why this field appears is that it asks us, okay, you have the account, and your grid view should probably be displaying data that is linked to that account. Well, okay, which data? And actually, this dropdown here displays a list of linked record fields that exist in the accounts table, the one where the selector pulls its data from, remember. Now, because we are aiming to get a list of linked opportunities, we will use this linked record field. It's called opportunities. And immediately it brings us the information that we wanted. So now the connection is established, and the way it works is that we select an account in the record selector, and this grid view will be displaying opportunities that are linked through a linked record field to a selected account. And finally, we are ready to explore the latest use case, which includes connections between two record selectors and then connection to a grid view. So here's the use case. We have the sales region, then every account is connected to a certain sales region, and then our opportunities are connected to a certain account. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to select a region, I want to get the list of accounts that are linked to that region, and then here I want to see the list of opportunities that are relevant to the selected account. So the whole thing goes like this. I pick Japan. I have only one account here, okay. I will go to US. I have a list of accounts. I will pick one of them and I get a list of opportunities. So what's happening here before we dive into the settings is actually this record selector uses the sales region selector as its source. And then this grid view for opportunities is using the account selector in its own turn as its source. But this is something that we have just explored. So let's go into the settings of this particular record selector to see how we were able to connect it to the region selector. And actually, it's very simple because it was connected in a very similar, actually in this exactly the same way we connected grid view to a record selector prior. So in the source, we first picked the region from the list of selectors, and then we got presented with a list of linked records. And in the sales region table, I only have one linked record. It actually connects a region to an account. So I will pick this one. And this is how the record selector for accounts will now be displaying the list of accounts that are relevant to a selected region in the region selector. I think you have to try to build these relations yourself. They might sound a little bit complicated, but in fact, they are very simple and it takes literally 2 clicks to build those connections. And when you have them, sky is the limit. Imagine where you have your customers and you pick a customer, you will get a list of orders. You pick an order, you will have the list of order items. You pick an order item, and you will have a list of complaints related or shipments related to that order item. And the list goes on, and really there is no limit in those levels that you can go deep. This was a lot of information to digest, but I think we made it. And in case you have any questions about the record selector or any other widgets that work in combination with it, feel free to send me an email or hit me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer all your questions. Thank you.